Okay.
You ready for this intro?
Nope, but let's do it anyway.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Psychologist Book Club.
Get ready to explore the psychology behind the magic and the mind games in your favorite YA novels.
I'm Brandi Hawk, a trauma psychologist and proud book nerd.
And I'm Deanna Boys and fellow book nerd.
Let's discuss our favorite heroes and villains, why they do what they do, and what that means for us.
Welcome to the club.
Today, we're so excited to welcome our friend, Dr. Brandi Liles.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Brandi Liles, occasional guest on the Nerdy Psychologist Book Club. I join book clubs to have drinks and be with friends and sometimes get through the books. So you rigid book club goers, please don't come for me too hard.
So, little overview of our podcast. We will read one book per month. We'll have one 30-minute episode per week that discusses a different character in the book. We'll always let you know in advance what our next month's book is so that you can get it and read along with us.
This month, we are talking about Sunrise on the Reaping. And I'm going to do a little synopsis for people who haven't visited the world of Panem before. So Sunrise on the Reaping, like I said, revisits the world of Panem about 24 years before the Hunger Games. So if you've read that series by Suzanne Collins before, this universe will feel really familiar just a little bit earlier. And the story focuses on Haymitch Abernathy, who is also in the Hunger Games. And it's centered around the 50th Hunger Games, also known as the Second Quarter Quell. And these are important pieces for this book because the typical thing that happens with this book series is a thing called the Hunger Games. And it's every year the families in these 12 districts are I'm just plugging here. Their children are what is called reaped for this games. It's like a bloody, hand-to-hand combat, bloodbath, killing each other at the very end to, not to take light of it. And they're reaped every year. And it's usually 2 kids per district, 1 boy, 1 girl. And this year there is double the amount of kiddos that are being reaped for these games for everyone's enjoyment. And yeah, so it's a really great dystopian novel, a lovely concept. And yeah, so that's the kind of the general synopsis of the book. And we are going to focus a lot on the characters, and I definitely want to get into that first, but should we do whether we liked it or not, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. I love that you're listening to me and just being like, oh, yeah, go for it.
So excited about what you were saying. I was like, great job, Deanna.
Disturbed about what you were saying. Just like the synopsis of the book is so fucking disturbing.
It's so disturbing. Yes. So let's get into it.
Why we're talking about it as trauma psychologists, right?
Yes. It's so, So before we get into it, typically at book club, we talk about whether we liked it or not. So let's start there.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Sorry. I really love disturbing things sometimes, especially if they're dystopian. I absolutely adored the Hunger Games. I loved the ability to see Haymitch and his story and see how everything came together. This book also devastated me.
Literally.
You know, right? Like, you know that something bad's going to happen at the end. You know it's coming. And the whole time you're like, maybe not.
Yeah,
That's
maybe not. No, right? That is one of the beauties of like having this kind of prequel, because sometimes prequels can be like, oh, okay, whatever. But I really care about Haymitch and I care about his character. And you just kind of were like, oh, wow, I get to see him with light in his eyes still. I kind of get to see who he really was before he was completely damaged by this experience. It was so like, oh God, I like you were saying, like, it was so hard to read. I kept reading a little bit and then I have to put it down. I was telling you, like, I can't do it. I'm having nightmares. This is stressful. I'm so sad because I'm so attached to them. And I'm so attached to the characters. And like Suzanne Collins does such a good job, like building these very complex characters so quickly that you immediately want to root for, even if they kind of suck. I even liked Wyatt.
I mean, Wyatt was a lovely human who was born in the wrong family.
Yeah.
Well, there's no such thing as right or wrong family. They just make different choices.
Fair.
Influenced by society.
Exactly. And I know you've only read a little bit of the book.
Yeah, so I'm about a fourth of the way through, and just so the audience knows, actually YA dystopian novels is not my typical genre, and so these ladies asked me to read it. I think the most interesting thing to me, like reading some of the Hunger Games and obviously watching the movies, is sort of what you said related to like why this character acted this way then, like in the future, and going back and digging into the why some of that behavior might be so evident. And I know some people, like some of the TikToks that I've been watching and things, also are like going back to scenes of the Hunger Games and saying, this makes this just like sits different now that we know how Haymitch was triggered, intense emotionality, being like forced and coerced to be a mentor when he was still in so much suffering.
Yeah.
So I think that's that's the interesting piece to me.
Yeah. Such a good point.
So that was a really great segue. Deanna, who are we talking about today?
We are talking about my favorite character, which is the main character, but we're talking about Haymitch Abernathy. And if you read the book, or if you don't, he is a bootlegger. He's a 16-year-old bootlegger. Love it.
Love that.
And just for some more context about Pan Am, for anyone who hasn't read the series yet, it is generally in the contiguous United States. Suzanne, there's like a map out there somewhere, and where the districts kind of are like mapped out, and District 12, where Haymitch is kind of like what is considered Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's where I'm from.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like thinking Appalachia, and which is a really rich history in bootlegging in America, and that was like Prohibition. People did this. This is totally normal. So in the book, he makes moonshine with Hattie, one of the characters, and I'm going to make you drink moonshine.
It's an interesting choice.
Yeah. Because I've actually never had moonshine before.
Bring me back to my high school days in Oklahoma, where I first tried moonshine.
Yeah.
I've never had moonshine.
You've never had moonshine either?
No.
Okay, so we're about to all experience this.
I'm not taking this whole shot, though.
Yeah.
I will be sipping this throughout the entirety of our discussion. I will not be drinking all of that.
I support that for you.
Shot?
I'm taking the shot.
You're taking the whole
I'm
shot?
taking the
Oh my
shot.
goodness, okay.
I'm taking it like I take a shot. Okay,
Cheers, friends.
Cheers, friends. All right. Bottoms up.
I'm just going to do the whole thing, too.
I'm so glad I didn't do the whole thing. Oh my goodness.
That's what I thought.
I mean,
it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Often find yourself drinking rubbing alcohol?
You know,
Okay.
when you go to dive bars, yes, you do.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm glad that is over.
Yeah. It was a good little primer.
We'll be better at podcasting.
Loosen us up. But I thought it was just a good little, like, get to know the world of Haymitch. And, like, it's interesting in the story because Haymitch talks about how he doesn't really drink, like,
Ever.
Yeah, before his trauma, he doesn't drink.
as a 16-year-old, he's like, he does it. He does the bootlegging part of it and, like, helps with Hattie and does all the, I can't think of the words. The making of it. Yeah, now I've got me moonshine. I'll go a little loopy over here. But anyway, but he didn't drink any of it. But then when we see him in the Hunger Games 40 years later, so that's too many years.
25 years
Thank
later.
you.
Right? 24 years later for the first
24 years later. I already said this.
Second quarter quell.
It's like, the third quarter quell. When we see him later, he's obviously, that's all he drinks. Like he's, and in the book, Hunger Games, for people who haven't read it, like he starts kind of getting yellowy. Like his liver starts giving out on him by the end of the series.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be drinking
now
this
we
all
know
the time.
why he's trying
Now
to
we-
avoid so many emotions.
Yeah. But yeah, let's talk more about Haymitch. Tell me more about him.
So I think one of the interesting things about Haymitch in this book is that you're just like, why are you doing these things? It feels like he doesn't have a cohesive sense of this is how I respond to these crazy things that are happening to me. He's kind of all over the place. And so we as psychologists and psychology experts, we can make sense of that because we understand that people don't respond cohesively when they're going through traumatic situations. So for Haymitch, I wanted us to talk about trauma responses and what that looks like in our body. Because, right, we know that when we experience trauma, our body responds in a way that's going to keep us safe. It's a totally reasonable response to totally unreasonable circumstances. And there's 5 primary trauma responses. Right, Brandi?
Yes. I'm going to start with sort of the 3, what I sort of consider the 3 primary, and then the 2 that additionally came on later. But in the psychological world, the realm of research, the neurobiological effects of trauma have been studied for a really long time, starting with war veterans and then moving to people with other kind of trauma experiences. And usually these are very, very quick reactions in our brain. And so our brain takes in sensory information, like our thalamus or amygdala kind of starts working together to see, okay, how do I need to react? It takes a quick shot to the prefrontal cortex to decide, okay, what is going to be the most likely situation that is going to help me survive this traumatic experience. And so the primary 3 are fight, flight, and freeze. Mm-hmm. And so when fight happens, our sympathetic nervous system activates. Our prefrontal cortex tells us, okay, fighting back is probably going to be the most likely to survive. And so this is where we'll see like verbal, physical aggression, right? Punching, destroying things, any kind of fight response where it's like, I'm fighting to get out of this situation.
Can I stop you there so that we can talk about that? Because I think that happens all the time. With Haymitch, right? They're like literally put in this arena and told that you have to kill other people in order to survive. And so there's a few places that we see Haymitch really showing that fight response. And I have them written in my book. Of course. I actually am
she is
a nerd.
A true book nerd.
I am a real, true book nerd. Okay. I'm going to start by taking us somewhere that is sad.
Okay. Oh, I know. Okay. It's such a sad book, though.
It's such a sad book. Okay, so I'm going to move to page 251. Okay.
Literally the most book nerds we could ever be.
I love myself and my nerdiness.
I love your nerdiness, too.
251, I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, so
that's a good one, actually. That's a good
I'm
point.
actually really sad to share this with you if you haven't known it before. Right?
Spoilers. Oh, speaking of which, this podcast will have spoilers.
Well, the spoilers coming.
Spoilers
Please
coming.
turn off the podcast if you do not want spoilers.
If you haven't read it yet,
come back later.
Come back later.
So big spoilers. In the arena, Haymitch and his friend Ampert are trying to blow up the arena, show the Capitol, we don't have to do what you're telling us to do. We're bigger than you. And in the process of that, the Capitol decides that it wants to kill Ampert. Also, it wants to kill Ampert to show his father that his rebellion is not okay. So there's a very specific way that Ampert is killed. He is attacked by squirrels and completely devoured. So it's very horrible.
Down to his bones.
It's very bad.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
Not going to read that part of it necessarily, but right when we talk about trauma responses, there's the piece of something bad is happening to me, but can we also have a fight response when we see something happening to someone else?
Absolutely. We see, and really any of the survival responses can happen when like our loved ones are being threatened. So if we think about from the evolutionary perspective of anger and aggression, right, is to keep ourselves safe and to keep our community safe, because living in community also has helped us survive from an evolutionary perspective. And so when that loved one, right, that person who is also vital for our survival gets attacked, then our brains also respond almost just as if we were being attacked as well.
Okay, so that's very much what happened. So he says, I promised Beatty I would not let him suffer. Flinging my hammock to its full length, I holler and lunge for the pile. The hammock snares the furry bodies, and I jerk it toward me, succeeding in unseating a layer or two of the mutts. Then I flip around my spear to use as a club and swing it across the mound again and again. Sweeping the squirrels away, I prepare myself for their attack, for the inevitable tearing of my flesh, but nothing happens.
I know, it's so sad. And for anyone out there, mutts is mutations, and they're
Like robot dogs?
so like
Is that how
kind
I'm
of
understanding them? Like robot
They're
dogs?
not robots so much as real things that are genetically programmed to respond.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a good because it's real squirrels. They're rabid squirrels coming
Okay,
at him.
okay.
Because there's another part in the book with ladybugs.
But then how are they controlled?
The
To the
capital
capital.
controls them. There's like
They could have like a chip.
Well,
like
they have like a chip in their brain
yeah.
or something.
Remember,
Okay,
this is
got it.
dystopian.
Got
So
it. Yeah,
imagine
yeah.
dystopian fun things.
Yeah.
yeah. Tech's a little
And
bit
by
more
fun,
advanced.
she means horrifying.
Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. I mean, that feels like Haymitch wasn't really thinking, right? He just saw his friend being ripped apart, and without thinking about what it would cost him and how it could hurt him, he just
Yeah.
ran in and started fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
You want to move on to flight?
We can move on to flight if you'd like to.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the fight response. Oh, wait, actually, I did have another question about the fight response. So you said that it activates our sympathetic nervous system. And I think one of the interesting things that we don't always think about is how that impacts our digestive system. On page 205, it's the day that they're going to go into the arena, and Wyatt and Haymitch are supposed to be eating breakfast. So there's a big hot breakfast, but it's all Wyatt and I can do to swallow a few bites. The stuff sticks in our throats so, and Maisie only wants coffee. Is that normal?
Yeah. So again, when the sympathetic nervous system is activated and all of the adrenaline and cortisol are sort of coursing through your body, the digestion actually slows down. And the reason for that is because then your brain doesn't have to think about basic needs when it's trying to survive, right? So think about like hunger and thirst and those type of things. It is like laser focused on just surviving.
And it doesn't need to digest food to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been nice for them to have more food in their stomach as like preparation for going into the
Sure.
arena.
Sure. But trauma responses don't always make sense, right? But our brain is doing what it needs to do in order, like what it thinks is the most likely to lead to survival.
That makes sense. And I mean, Deanna, so when something scary happens to you, do you fight?
Ooh, are you a fighter?
No, that's a really good question.
I'm a fighter. I'm going to get the hell out of there.
Oh, I am an appeaser. I've
okay.
realized that over the years that I'm an appeaser and I'm like try to befriend you or like, disarm you. Like,
Try to make it better.
if I could be an animal and like lie on my back and let you tickle me, I would. Like,
Yeah.
I promise I'm okay.
Yeah.
Also, please don't anyone use that against me.
And it's interesting that because we're going to talk about like appease, submit and appease a bit later. And then the other one is tend and befriend. But those are really survival responses that often come a little bit later. So like after chronic survival responses, right? So like in
What
normative,
is she saying about me?
in normative fear responses, right? The fear happens, right? You go into survival mode. Your prefrontal cortex tells you, okay, the danger is gone. You don't need to respond anymore. But then when it's chronic fear situations, you're chronically in the trauma, your prefrontal cortex doesn't turn off. And so then it has to find other ways to be able to manage because our body just can't manage that chronic type of fear. And so then it finds other ways, like finding, okay, now I'm going to befriend, right? Or I'm going to try to get a community together, which Haymitch did in some of the scene, like in some of the book too. Or I'm just going to appease, I'm going to comply. I'm going to try to align with the person who's causing the trauma to see if that is going to help me get out of the trauma.
So fascinating and so good with the book. And now my life. What are you saying? No, it definitely makes me think about it because my initial response was appease, and that typically is when I think of danger, and I imagine that a lot of other women also feel this, when I'm out, when I'm having fun with my friends, and I am kind of like a little bit, is put in a little bit of an unsafe, uncomfortable talking to a man, because why would a man be there? No, just kidding. Sorry. But, but you know, like that is my tendency is to like, to laugh, to be like, oh.
But if you think about like living in
That's
misogyny,
living
like you chronically live
yes.
in the society where you may be in danger just because of your gender.
Yeah.
Right. And so then your prefrontal cortex has adapted over time to then become more appeasing in the situation to see if that will keep the danger away.
Like in terms of like the initial one, I would say freeze. I'm a freezer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really good at running away.
Do you want to talk about freeze a little bit?
Yeah. Tell us about freeze.
So, well, with freeze, actually, a different system is activated. So, like your sympathetic system activates, and it becomes so overwhelmed, it kind of gets discombobulated in your prefrontal cortex, and then the parasympathetic activates. That parasympathetic system activates.
And I've heard about it talked about like with a gas pedal kind of analogy before.
Yeah.
How would that kind of sound?
Tell me more about that.
Oh, I'll tell you more about that. So in the world of biofeedback, we talk about this a lot, right? That your sympathetic nervous system is a gas pedal and a brake pedal. So the fight response that you were telling us about and the flight response are like throwing on your gas pedal. It's a strong sympathetic activation. Yeah. And then the freeze response is, well, it's actually like throwing on your gas pedal and your brake at the same time. The brake pedal is the thing that's supposed to calm us down and help us feel better. But when we slam both at the same time, it sort of
like
creates
confuses our system.
Yeah.
And freeze, again, typically happens when either fight or flight has been tried and failed, or our prefrontal cortex feels like there's no way to fight or flight. So like a lot of the work we do is with children, right? And children who've experienced trauma like sexual abuse and physical abuse, and they can't get away from the situations. They're younger, they don't have any control of where they go, right? Their fight system is not going to be, it's not going to be effective when, especially if the perpetrator is an adult. Right. And so then the freeze response starts to set in. The parasympathetic nervous system, the prefrontal cortex tells you being still is the safest route. That is what is most likely going to lead to survival. The other thing we talk about is like possums playing dead. So like possums on the road playing dead is like, oh, you're not going to run over me because you already think I'm dead, or you're not going to eat me because you already think I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like our human system does the exact same thing where it's like, if I just play dead, then less harm is going to come to me.
And you're talking about our prefrontal cortex, right? So we don't think about that when it happens.
It's like nanoseconds, right? So it's nanoseconds of processing.
Okay. So this happened to Haymitch. So I feel like Haymitch, he goes all over the place. That's why we're talking about him. We talked about his fighting response. He also has an intense freeze response, and it's on page 299 for anyone interested in joining. So, basically, Haymitch and Maisley are running away from two careers, and they run into game makers in the arena. So this is like something that never, ever, ever happens. The game makers do not interact with the tributes.
And the game makers are like the perpetrators, basically?
Basically, yeah.
They're an arm of the Capitol.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so these particular game makers, they're kind of like your low-rung folks. They are fixing something. Like something's clearly like not up to snuff where they are. And so they're just there and they're like, okay, I'm going to make things better. And then
like the robotic dogs are broken or like
yeah. Or like this flower's not pretty enough, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So they're in fixing something and these 4 tributes come upon them. And in that moment, Maisley and one of the other career tributes kill the game makers. And so we're talking about Haymitch's response afterwards because Haymitch did not.
Yeah.
Haymitch froze, like you talked about.
So the other people reacted in fight and he reacted
froze.
in freeze.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so this is his response afterwards because Maisley's angry at him. She's like, why
the fuck did you leave me to do this or whatever?
Exactly. Why didn't you help me? So he says, she's right. I froze. Caught off guard by the unexpected encounter, intimidated by the white uniforms, whatever, I choked. I don't know what happened, Maisie. Everything was coming at me so fast, and I'm covered in slime. And so this is what he's describing, right? Like he didn't know. He didn't know. His body just stopped.
Yeah.
Right?
Freeze response.
What comes next then, right? I want to get your take on this because in my experience, right, when folks have a freeze response, they're more likely to experience shame afterwards, which is what we see, right? Maisie says back to him, "You're supposed to be my ally, not her, not that fish-eating, boot-licking, wish she could pull off pin curls piece of trash," which, by the way,
love
hilarious line.
Love Maisie.
We love Maisie. She's like so sassy. You'd love her. Like
she's the best. And he says, "Well, I feel terrible and utterly lack a defense. My knife was in hand, the game makers in easy reach, no one better positioned to kill them. Plutarch's voice taunts me. The question is, why didn't you? I can't say I'm not a killer anymore. That leaves brainwashed or cowardly."
Yeah, I mean, it's the freeze response. And I totally agree. A lot of the people I work with who have had the freeze response do feel shame afterwards. Why didn't I run?
mm-hmm.
Why didn't I fight? Why didn't I do something to get myself out of the situation? And then what I tell them is, you did.
Yeah. Oh, that's
You
that's
did
powerful.
do something. Your brain froze because your brain told you that was the most likely way you were going to survive this situation, right? And Haymitch survived the situation. The other thing that happens too is like if we think about, well, what would have happened if I didn't freeze? So let's say that Haymitch did have the fight response in that scenario. Well, he could have also been killed.
He could have been killed. And actually, so what happens afterwards is the game makers create very specific mutts that are going to kill the two people that killed the game makers, right? There's no way they're winning.
Yeah. Interesting. So even in this dystopian like fiction novel, it's like something bad could have happened if you had a different response. And that's where it's like trusting our body and trusting our brain in those circumstances is like your brain is doing what it was made to do, is to protect the situation, like protect yourself in the situation. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? Like sometimes it fails. But oftentimes, especially again, when people are coming into our offices to kind of process the trauma, I say, yeah, your brain did what it needed to do because you are sitting across from me right now. You are alive and relatively well.
Yeah, that's good. So, Deanna, when you freeze, your brain made the right choice.
Yeah, your brain just made the right choice.
Oh, good.
It did exactly what it needed to do.
I'm actually interested in y'all's opinions, and we'll go back to flight too, but I'm interested in y'all's opinions because I think the submit and appease and the tend and befriend, I see them as sort of like siblings of the freeze response. Like it's not total freeze because your body is doing something, but it's still, your brain is still processing that fighting or flighting in the situation is not going to get you what you want.
That's a good point.
Out of the situation. And again, this often happens. These two responses happen when the trauma is chronic, typically. Not always. Like sometimes it can happen in, even if it's an acute trauma. Right? What are y'all's thoughts about that?
I mean, I think definitely for the submit and appease, right? Yeah. The interesting thing about tend and befriend, which we'll get to, right, is that for tend and befriend, there's like a huge influx of oxytocin in the brain, which we don't see in any of the other trauma responses.
Changes, yeah.
Right. And so that oxytocin is what drives us to be near people. So I tend to put that in a different category, but I think you're totally right with the other two.
Yeah, you give me some things to think about.
Yeah.
Who I am.
That's what this is about, right? It's like using these characters and this this book to help us also understand even how we respond to situations and how we behave in certain ways. Do y'all want to talk about flight now?
I mean, I think we should talk about appease.
Quite-
We're
Okay.
clearly,
I mean,
we're clearly talking
Okay,
about
let's do it.
We're
We're
talking about
clearly getting a free
Deanna.
therapy session.
this is Deanna's therapy today. So the thing about appease, right, is that there's in the moment and then there's long term.
Yeah.
Right. And so Haymitch does both. Okay. So in the beginning, while I figure out where I'm supposed to be, Deanna, would you explain what happens at the reaping?
No, I don't want to.
Oh, when
I'm so
the other kid gets shot.
Yeah.
That's like page 2, so I have read that page.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Woodbine Chance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His response is flight. He's like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Get the hell out of here.
I'm out of here.
That's my typical response. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't blame him. And he runs off and is immediately shot and killed. Just immediately.
Yeah.
Blood everywhere. So sad. Sorry.
And the freaking televised thing is
well,
so disturbing.
But it's a few seconds in advance,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
fine. They can adjust. Yeah.
So gross.
And Haymitch sees Lenore Dove, his girlfriend. I think was she caught up in the melee or something?
Yeah, she was trying to get to Woodbine.
Woodbine, yeah. Yeah, she was trying to get to him. And he sees, so Haymitch sees Lenore getting accosted by the peacekeepers, which are like the security force. And in his mind, he's like, first he submits and he lies down on the ground and he's like, I'm not gonna, oh, you want to, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
So that's where we're gonna pick up.
Okay, good.
First he submits. So on the ground, everybody is coming from the peacekeepers. Automatically, I fall on my knees and assume the position, hands linked behind my neck, forehead pressed to the sooty bricks of the square. Right? This is like the momentary, like it's not fight, flight, or freeze. It is appease. Do what you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's 50 years of this. And like, I mean, he's only 16, but this is, everybody does this. So it's so normal, so normalized.
Yeah.
But then he sees Lenore getting accosted and he's like a bit against his better judgment, gets up and goes over to try to help her.
Yeah.
And get him off of her
Like
and save
his
her.
values to like protect her just becomes so strong that sort of overrides
Yeah.
the survival response in the moment.
You're calling me back to like the beginning of the book and I've just forgotten it now. But goes over to try to save her and then he gets pulled in and he's used this
That's
one.
when he has to basically,
Yeah,
they call
he
him
gets
to be
reaped.
volunteer.
Yeah, he gets reaped. Illegally
Volunteer.
Illegally reaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also when something that I think happens often with both freeze and submit comes in. So tell me what this sounds like to you. In a few days, I'll die in the arena. I know all this, but it's like it's happening to someone else while I watch from a distance.
Oh, what's that called? That's called like depersonalization or something like that? Yeah.
Dissociation.
Dissociation.
And it can be like depersonalization or derealization, right? So all like dissociation is kind of the umbrella term. We all dissociate. Like think about when you're driving home from work, like the, 150th evening that you drove home from work and you're like, get in your garage. Like, oh,
How did I
I
get
don't
here?
even really remember exiting the highway. Like all, like our brain just takes shortcuts like this. So it's just a natural part of our human neurobiology. But when dissociation happens, it's like when the trauma disconnects you from reality. So that's like reality or your own self. And so like your own identity, like being disconnected from who you are, what your values are, how you contribute to the world, all of those things. That's where it's like I've had clients describe it as even like out of body experiences. Like I feel like I'm looking down on myself experiencing this instead of actually experiencing it. Right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that happens all of the time. And when the trauma is happening, it's very, very, very effective because then we're not processing all of the nitty gritty details of the trauma in the moment. Our brain is shutting off in order to protect us. It's just after we're out of the trauma, then our brain has created this habit of being able to disconnect when we don't need to disconnect for survival.
Because like in the moment for Haymitch, like it probably was helpful for
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
to not be
Yeah.
realizing that he was going into the Hunger Games.
Kind of like numb himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what else it made me think of? I know we're going to talk about this in a later episode, but like the PTSD symptom of like foreshortened future. Like I know I'm not going to have a future. And so then things just don't matter as much. Risks don't matter. My responses don't matter as much because I'm going to be dead
Yeah.
pretty soon.
And that is like throughout the book. Haymitch is like, whatever,
time.
I'm going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is interesting because he doesn't and then comes like then later.
If you don't make
like when you
the
get to the Hunger
plans.
Games series, he's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see how all like the disconnection from his value and from his humanity and from, but then also still nuggets and moments where he responds in congruence with his values and tries to connect and tries to do what he feels is right, like how he wants to show up in the world, even despite all of this trauma.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
It's
like some of the resiliency that comes out.
Yeah. I love him in this book. Like, I just love him. He just, like, you feel sorry for all the kids.
Yeah.
But you just feel like, like, obviously he's the main character, but, like, he's just like, this is why you are the way you are.
Well, and can we talk about one of the reasons that we love him is because of his tendency to tend to befriend.
Yes,
right?
please, let's.
Yeah.
So I talked about like the rush of oxytocin to the brain.
Yeah.
What else?
And so this is basically the idea that, again, our prefrontal cortex makes the decision that, like, being in community, right, and, like, having a collective helps us survive.
Yeah,
the
that is such a
situation.
big concept that he latches onto really quickly with Ampert. And I love Ampert.
I love Ampert. Ampert is why I'm wearing
Yes.
electric blue today.
Yes.
Oh,
I love Ampert.
We love
tribute
Ampert.
to him.
And
Wait,
he's
tribute,
just,
maybe not tribute.
Maybe not
Yeah.
tribute.
It's a trigger word.
oh yeah. He's just like immediately like picked up on Haymitch immediately picked up on Ampert's like kind of like energy, and he's like, we're all gonna make it out of here, like that false sense of the world
Yeah.
gonna be okay a little bit, but like throughout the book, he even against his better judgment, he's like, no, this is good, I should probably be near this person, even though like later in the book, so I'm not finishing a cohesive thought here, but thanks for sitting with me. But he throughout the entire book, he's like, yeah, I need an alliance, and then he kind of like pushes them away when he becomes dangerous. Then he immediately they're still looking for him. Like when what's your Lulu, which is another sad part of the story we don't want to get too much into, but when Lulu comes to find him, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take care of her still.
And then when he finally finds Maisie.
I know.
So Maisie comes and finds him eventually, and he shares half of his things with her, and they immediately form this connection, right? They started the connection before, but they're in the arena together, and it doesn't matter that he left. It doesn't matter what she's done or what he's done. They're like, we are going to do this together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the book, it's such an interesting thing because only one kid gets to live.
Yeah.
And that's standard, been 50 years standard. So
Yeah.
it's like the going with the collective against your own better judgment that you might be the one that dies, but it doesn't matter because one of you gets to live. And it's if you make the collective, you're like, I'm okay if this person gets to live versus me getting to live.
Yeah.
They're putting other people above yourself.
Yeah.
But then you get to really interesting conversations that Haymitch and Maisie had to have where they're like, well, if it comes down to the two of us, you can kill me. And then he's like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And like, of course, neither of them would kill the other person.
This is like so huge too because, and I talk with my clients about this all of the time, is like thinking about how you held on to your values even in the midst of such painful, traumatic experiences. And most humans do have moments where they held on to their values. And so like them saying like, oh, I'm not going to kill you. That's like them holding on to some of their values. Now again, like situations and experiences might happen where then they have to live incongruently with those values in order to survive, but they still have that value within them where it's like, I'm not crossing that line.
Yeah. I'll kill these other people because
I have
they're
to
going
in
to kill
order.
me
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm going to.
Like holding on to that kernel of of what the, like that connection and that community that he values. Okay, do we want to talk about flight a little bit?
Yeah, that's our last one, right? We talked through all of
Yeah.
them.
So flight is a sympathetic system response. And so our sympathetic nervous system starts to activate. It gets a bit flooded. And our prefrontal cortex tells us that leaving and escaping is the most likely to lead to survival. And so getting away from the event, getting away from the perpetrators, getting away from the situation. Now, I'm imagining in the arena, there's only so much
Getting away.
there's only so much getting away.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably some situations where Haymitch comes in and flights, but then there's other times where that's not going to be a reasonable, effective strategy because you literally can't leave the arena.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good point, and I hope I'm not taking
No,
your thing.
please do it.
But I was like thinking about I think it's Mags or it's Virus. It's one of their little like the song, and I wish I knew the dang page right now. Oh, first avoid the slaughter, get weapons, look for water, find food and where to sleep. Fire and friends can keep. I don't know how I opened right to that.
That was
but
very impressive.
That was
Very impressive. I'm gonna slow down
environmental.
again. We'll
Thanks,
say it again.
environment for the sport. Will you read it one more time
Yeah.
slower?
Yeah. First avoid the slaughter, which gets
Is run away.
run away.
Yeah.
Get weapons, look for water.
Fight.
And survival a
And
little
survive.
bit.
Yeah.
Find food and where to sleep. Fire and friends can keep.
10 and befriend.
And then be
Yes.
friends.
Oh, so good.
Oh, so good.
So good.
And safe,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so aside from running away at the beginning, when you have the cornucopia, there's also this really great moment, I think, that describes flight well. So it's page 233. So basically there's this maze. So Haymitch is trying to get to the end of the arena, and he comes across this hedge maze, and he's like, I'm going to get through the hedge maze. And he goes through it, and everything's fine until it's not, right? And then mutt ladybugs
Oh,
start attacking him. And he says, raw panic consumes me. All I know is I never want to be stung again. I burst out of the willow bower, leaving Lulu to the game makers. Hundreds of butterflies dotting the trees come to life and target me. I sprint into the woods, oblivious to all but escape, but they swarm after me. Right?
God, that is terrifying.
I mean, yeah, no, it's like super, super scary.
yeah. It's pretty terrifying. Yeah. Nightmares.
Yeah. But flight.
But flight, like he wasn't thinking about it. He just, these
Yeah.
things
Because
are
also,
attacking
like,
me.
again,
I'm going.
Think about like your prefrontal cortexes and be like, I can't kill all these freaking bees or
Yeah.
whatever they are.
Ladybugs.
Ladybugs.
Yeah. Right.
Which, like,
With chips in their head. Like, I'm not going to be able to kill all of these things. So fight is not an option.
right.
I can't tend and befriend these
No.
chipped ladybugs, right? So like that's not going to work. So the prefrontal cortex here, you can see the prefrontal cortex made the most effective decision at the time, which was get the hell out of there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Well, this has been fun and illuminating and concerning.
Not concerning. You're fine.
Mildly concerning for
Your
myself.
brain is doing what it needs to do.
Okay. But it's a good place for us to pause. I have really enjoyed talking about this, and we're going to continue talking about this. So thank you if you have made it all the way through with us. Hooray.
Yay!
So for extra content, including, this is a particular, it's not a recipe, but you can see which moonshine we got on our Patreon. And just more videos and more content and more stuff to help you kind of get a sense of what we've been talking about. And if you had fun, please like and subscribe and tell your friends, please. No, I'm a millennial, but it's okay. You can see my face. But yeah, please like and subscribe and follow along.
Thank you all so much. Next week, we'll continue to talk about Sunrise on the Reaping. Remember, we're doing this for the full month. And then starting next month, we'll be reading Air by Saba Tahir. Air, H-E-I-R, not A-I-R. And if you're interested in getting a head start, go to your local bookstore or your local library and get a copy. We're so excited for you to join us.
Or if you listen to Audible or not Audible, but
Oh,
Libby.
listen.
You go
I mean, I listen on Libby. That's my local bookstore as well.
Yeah, your local library. But thanks for coming to our club.
Thanks for joining book club.
The synopsis of the book is so fucking disturbing.
It's so disturbing.
Thanks for coming to our podcast.
I will be using all of this for bloopers. For bloopers.